What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Barefoot Garage and our 72 914 Haltech project. Today, we're tearing out all the old components. Anything DJ related we're not reusing will come out. I'll show you guys that stuff, and then we're gonna look at all the sweet new stuff that we need to put in to run everything on this Haltech Elite 550. I have taken this car out of the 70s in about 30-45 minutes, and it's going to take a couple months to get it up to modern standards. Here's all the stuff that's going away. So if you see a part you need, send me a message through YouTube or Instagram, or write a comment, because most of this stuff is going to be for sale. First and foremost, goodbye old computer. Hardly even call you a computer. Goodbye harness I spent so much time rebuilding. This is probably salvageable for somebody. I'll make you a great deal on it because it's fine, but it's not perfect. It's not a really totally rebuilt one. So computer harness gone. The injector connectors that I need, these guys, I can order them individually. I can get the boots. I got tons of boots. So I will replace those and not try to use them. The MPS, gone. No longer using an MPS in any place in the car. The AAR, the warm-up valve, or whatever you want to call it, gone. We're going to go to a modern stepper motor for that. Back pressure valve, gone. The distributor, wires, Pertronics, and the coil, all gone. This is a complete ignition system for a D-Jet car with the trigger points for the injectors, if somebody needs that. There is the part number. I'm not sure if it'll focus on that. Not needed any longer. A couple smalls, bracket to hold down the distributor, temperature sensor, various nuts and hardware, and here is all of the hoses. Now some of these will get reused for just PCV lines and one map sensor line, but generally most of this is going to go away. The other thing coming out, cold start injector. We'll be able to do auto enrichment based on the computer and an air temperature sensor. So may try to retain the fuel pressure gauge. Maybe I'll put in a fuel pressure sensor that can go to the computer and I can read it on my computer screen. So here's all the stuff that we're getting rid of. Let's take a look at the engine compartment as to what we're keeping, and then we'll take a look at the hot new goodies. All right, here's what's left of the 2-liter D-Jet car. Now everything you see here is staying. I am going to keep the manifold and plenum. I'm keeping the runners. I'm keeping the injectors. They're down here because I had to pull that cold start line. But the injectors and the injector rails will stay. We may have to reroute some of the fuel line because I do have a barb right there that went to the cold start injector. I am planning to keep the stock throttle body, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. So throttle cable, runners, plenum, and the plumbing for the fuel system is about it. The ignition wiring probably going to get changed. I may try to reuse a piece of that, but not really. So that's about it. I will probably plumb all of my PCV stuff up to just a catch can here, somewhere like that. So that's the engine compartment. I still have not pulled off that bracket for the ECU. I have not decided if I'm going to put the ECU, which is hardened for this environment, back here or in behind the seat. I don't really know what's going to be easier for programming perspective, but we'll find a way to get that out of there. And this is what we're working with. So that's the engine compartment. Let's take a look at what's getting reused on the bench and the new parts. All right, other components here up on the bench. Airbox, planning to reuse this. I'm just gonna have to plug off all of these. I don't know if I'll cap them and weld them or if I'll just put plugs on them for now, but it works, kind of looks stock since I'm all about that stock car life. But we're gonna use this. It's got a K&N drop-in filter in it. It's gonna flow plenty of air for what we need. the throttle valve, or the throttle body. We are going to reuse this, but it's off the car for a specific reason, because this no longer is going to work. This already has the throttle valve rebuild kit in it. This will be available if somebody wants it. It's for a 2-liter car. It's in, I would say, honestly, probably excellent shape. So no longer going to need this. Now, let's take a look at the new parts. Okay, time for new goodies. Starting from small to big, we are going to be using a lot of products from the Dub Shop and a lot of products from Haltech. Neither of these guys sponsor me. That's just who I found that uses the best stuff. These guys have a ton of knowledge around fuel injection for VWs and Porsches. They have full injection kits, but I'm kind of building my own with some of their components. Haltech, obviously, using their ECU. Starting out first, Dub Shop air intake temperature sensor. So it comes with both sides of the plugs. I can wire that right in. I will find a place to plumb that in so we can get a reading on the temperature of the air to make an assessment for density. Next, this is a cool piece. Modified cylinder head temp sensor for a Type 4 that puts out an output that looks like a GM standard water temperature sensor. So in a programming side, this takes the place of your water temperature. It simplifies having to do a bunch of different conversions and math on using like cylinder head temp or oil temp or something like this. So I can just put in a standard GM value and this will output that with the equivalent of a Type 4 motor. Super cool piece. Next, using a Bosch TPS. This is the type of signal it needs. It's a 3-wire TPS. And what I was showing you is that this 8mm D shaft will fit this TPS. So all I got to do is find a way to mount this. So I'm looking into some 3D printed things or a piece of aluminum. You can see that there's a gap in that shaft. I can cut that down, but I do have to have a way to attach this so that while it's held in place, I can turn the throttle and get that reading. Just a generic Bosch. Bosch is kind of a theme here. We're going away with the Bosch D-Jet, but I will use a new Bosch TPS. All right, next big part. Wasted spark 4-pot coil. This will do a wasted spark for a 4-cylinder, special Dub Shop piece. It is super beefy. It looks like it's epoxy filled, so it's really ready for some vibration since the 914 sees a lot of off-road action from time to time. But basically, this is not going to run sequential. It's going to run what they call batch fire. So it's going to go boom, 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 boom. And this is going to give me the ability to run no distributor, totally programmable ignition. All right, next piece, and this is one of the ones that makes all of this possible. This is the Type 4 crank trigger kit. This little sensor sits behind the fan, and this sits behind the fan, and it reads the teeth. And this is what tells the computer what the position of the engine is. If I had a cam sync that would interface with this so I could run a full sequential injection or full sequential spark, but this is going to be sufficient for what I need. Bolts onto the back of the fan mounting bolt in these 3 holes. Sensor bracket goes onto the engine case. This is a super cool piece also from the Dub Shop, and this is what's going to allow me to run this computer and to give it basically a crank signal. So this will serve as both crank and cam signal for the purposes of my build. All right, next big thing, going right for it. Haltech Elite 550 and the universal wiring harness that goes along with it. So this is a little intimidating to me, but built-in map sensor, totally programmable. You can run the IC7 dash if you want. Completely ruggedized. I can put this in the engine compartment if I need to, but this is the brains of the whole operation, and specifically chose this because it can drive that older style of injector like we have in the car. Not a modern injector. It can do that, but it can also do, I believe it's called peak and hold, the older style saturated or peak and hold injectors that we have in the car. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but that's the biggest thing that's going to run this. So all of this power is going to be fed by our other components here, our sensors, and really this is the majority of it. There may be some other components that I don't know about. If I missed something, please tell me. I do already have an Innovate LC1 wideband in there that can output some 0 to 5 to the computer. I can wire that into one of the extra inputs here so I can see what's happening in the exhaust and see what's happening with my air-fuel ratio. But this is the majority of my kit. I've got my crank trigger, my wiring harness, my ECU, a TPS, a modified coolant temp sensor, a air intake temp sensor, my wasted spark coil, and that's going to do it. I've got some other small connectors and little things that we're going to need here, but this is the bulk of it. First off, we're going to start and get this crank trigger in. I'm hoping to put the crank trigger in without taking the engine out, but if that's what has to happen, that's going to happen first. We'll get that out, we'll get the engine back in, we'll put the car back on the ground, and then we can work from the top on the rest of these. Ideally, I'm going to be able to get this in without having to take it apart, and then we'll start building the rest of these components in. One of the next things I've got to do is I've got to get this situation figured out. So if I have to draw or create a 3D print file, or I've got to contact somebody to create this for me, I need this to match with that, and so that's something that I'm going to be working on pretty quickly here. Sensor mounting, no big deal. I'll find places for these. This just bolts under a cylinder 10 bolt. We'll find a place for this. I'll probably build a little aluminum bracket to hold that. They sell a trick one for type 1, but I'm going to build something for my type 4 here, and that is what we need to start our Haltech EFI conversion. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the Barefoot Garage tonight. We looked at old stuff coming out, old stuff getting reused, and new sweet stuff going in. So here's a quick view of most of the stuff coming out, except for maybe that air box. All of this is not any longer going to be part of my 914. As always, stay tuned to the Barefoot Garage and to our D-Jet Haltech project here on YouTube at Barefoot Garage Jacks, and between episodes at Barefoot Garage Jacks over on Instagram. See you guys.